That's my cue to start the show. Welcome to another edition of the Hard Rock Sports Show, live from high top Hard Rock Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 2-hour weekly get together where we bring you the biggest news from around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, across the wide world of sports. And guys, welcome to Thursday night, April the 9th in the year of good Lord 2026. And I hope you guys have had a great week. It's been a completely weird week weather-wise. You know, we're earlier in the weekend, we had some warm weather. And then all of a sudden, Wednesday and Thursday were just brutally cold, reminding me why I don't live in Florida. Why is it that I don't live in Florida away from this brutal cold weather that I had to walk around for 2 days? Today wasn't as bad, got warmer as the day progressed. But yesterday, still had the gloves on, still had the heavy jacket, and I hate every second of it. But it's warm in here in the Hot Rocket Sports Studios tonight, and I'm looking forward to a good 2-hour show. We got a lot to get to. We're going to stay under the 2 hours so we can do our reels. I have to tell you, that it's been a really big hit. If you go on to YouTube, a couple of the reels, I think, are over 2,000 views. So that's pretty cool. Get a little exposure for the show. And we'll do them every week and send them out. So thank you to StreamYard. There's a whole bunch of new stuff I have to spend a little time with StreamYard to get used to and get it on the air. So I hope to do that as the weeks progress and the show moves on through another year, year 12 to be a fact. That's right. We're coming up on the anniversary in July, year 12 of the Hard Rocket Sports Show. When does the end? I don't know. I do know. I don't know. I'm not sure. Who knows? Could be tomorrow. Could be 2 years. Could be 10 years. Don't know. Right now, we're still having fun. We got a lot to get to tonight. We got a lot to get to this year. America 250. We're definitely going to be on the air to celebrate that. Even I think July 4th is a Saturday, so Thursday, July 2nd, we will do a show and celebrate America 250 right here on the Hard Rocket Sports Show. I think I'm going to actually go out of my way to try to get some big time guests for that show. See if we'll line up some people, sports, music, and otherwise, maybe even some politicians. It's been a long time since I really gave it a good try. I think I'm going to give it a shot. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about this week, okay? Among some other things, we got Dexter Lawrence and my thoughts, possibly Jeff's, on the crybaby Dexter Lawrence and the normal athlete of today and their failure to follow their contracts. We'll talk a little about Steve Kerr's plan or proposed plan to fix the NBA and load management. Retard. That guy is one of the worst human beings. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, he's just a complete ass. All right, so we'll talk about that. The Mets are retiring Carlos Beltran's uniform number. I don't get it. Let's see what else we got. Juan Soto on the DL. Reforming nil. It's to the point where the president of the United States had to put out a executive order to try to rein in college sports. And I totally agree. Whether you like the president or not, I think I totally agree. Now, I don't think there's much he can really do about it. You know, I think it'll hit the courts and it'll get blown up. But I think his plan, which, again, sounds like a lot of stuff we talked about here, I think is smart. I think at some point you have to rein it in. It can't just be, the Wild West. So we'll talk a little bit about nil and the proposed plans to change it. We'll talk a little Jets and Giants in the draft. I also want to talk about one of baseball's iconic, overrated, underrated players of all time, and that's Nolan Ryan. That's right. Is Nolan Ryan overrated or underrated? It's a great question. Thanks to my good friend Joe Gansas, who put up a nice little post, or I say a meme, sent me a little thing with, he's like the number one hitters, number one in one hitters, number ones in two hitters, whatever. And it goes to the individual dominance of Nolan Ryan. But when you break down the numbers and you see his one-loss record and you see his lifetime ERA and some of the other things, you go, well, was he great? Did he just stay around for 20-something years? It's a good question. I'll see if Jeff did any research on it today. I did. We'll talk about that. We'll talk again, little Jets and Giants and their upcoming draft thoughts, and a lot of some other stuff that we'll get to tonight. So sit back, relax. Let's get Jeff right on, and let's start talking Hard Rockin' Sports right here on the Hard Rockin' Sports Show. Hang on. And there's only one way to start a Hard Rockin' Sports Show, and that's by bringing on my good buddy, 40-plus years, Mr. Jeff. What's up there, Dig? Talwinski. F.A.
What's up, man? What's going on?
How much, my man? How you doing tonight?
What happened to you?
With what?
I don't know. Your face looks like you got beat up.
No, that's unfortunately that's what I was born with. I'm sorry.
It's all discolored.
Really?
Were you out in the wind a lot today or something?
Well, I've been outside pretty much every day now. Yeah, I have a new job site in Jersey City, and I am out there 6:30 every morning. I'm on site. Guys show up at 8 o'clock. I'm out there at 6:30 with a couple of my guys getting the things going. So yeah, I'm out in the sun and the wind pretty much 8-9 hours a day.
Damn, well, it shows.
No, so yeah, that's probably why it is. I mean, I haven't been hit by anybody lately. So
no, I hope not.
Yeah. So, but it's all good. It's all part of life, I guess. Couple more. I got a few more years of this, and let's see, date set on. But yeah, I changed it. Sorry, I just hadn't had a chance to update the banner. Sorry about that, Catman. So Jeff, let's start the show off like we do every week. Jeff, how was your week?
Usual shit, man.
Okay.
Usual shit. Nothing to write home about.
All right. Well, at least you're on the air. I got a good amount of stuff to talk about. I do want to talk about your mayor for a half a second. I don't want to get too political tonight, but I thought I did want to mention the fact that your mayor seems to have either canceled or restricted a lot of events.
Hold on, one second. I do not have a mayor. The city that I live in has a mayor.
Wow.
I do not have a mayor. I have a wife, but I don't have a mayor.
You do have a wife. You have a very nice wife.
Yeah. Matter of fact, here she is. She just got a haircut and colored. Yeah, look at this joke. Come on, show everybody what we paid for here.
Leave your wife alone. You're lucky she even keeps you around at this point.
Where's she gonna go now, Tom? She can't run that fast.
Yes, I can.
No, she says she threatens me.
Oh, I don't blame her. I certainly don't blame her. But your city's, how about that? Your city's mayor has decided to limit the amount of America 250 celebrations. But you can protest and demonstrate all you want. By the way, yes, happy anniversary. So
thank you.
As typical progressive socialists, communists, jerk-offs, you can go in and burn your city down if you want, but don't light any fireworks and celebrate 250 wonderful years of this country. So, as usual, great job by the city of New York and its people who voted for this moron, and all of you who didn't vote at all. But I really want to thank Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Lewa, two morons, for allowing Mondami to be elected. So just for the record, if you want, they're actually having a ball drop in Times Square on July 3rd at midnight to usher in July 4th and the festivities.
Well, and thank you, Frank.
Yeah, and nobody's allowed to attend.
What?
Nobody is allowed.
And so nobody's going to be allowed to attend this in Times Square.
Correct. You can watch it on TV, but nobody will be allowed to gather in New York City on Times Square because, and the reason for all of this is why, Jeff. Do you know why? Besides him being a communist jerk-off, they don't have enough cops. They are short 6,000 New York City police officers, and they don't have enough people to handle all the events. But you can demonstrate, you can protest, and you can probably burn down your city, and they'll let it happen. But don't go to Times Square and celebrate the beginning of our 250th year. That you can't do. And why don't we have enough cops, Jeff? Why don't we have enough cops? Because we have a communist mayor, and everybody is running out of town, and nobody's taking the test to become a New York City police officer.
Well, I wish that he pushed a few more people out like me so I could retire and just, whatever. Get rid of us.
I'm with you. I don't know how we do it. I am glad that for the next year, At this moment, I will not have to spend as much time in New York City as I have been. Now I get to go to Jersey City every day and spend most of my days there, which for now is a really good thing, especially for the summer. There's some talk of a Brooklyn project coming up, but that is not in house yet. So anyway, I just figured I'd mention how great this mayor is doing. A wonderful job, and I'm curious to know. I would love to get a couple people on who voted for him and ask if they have any buyer's remorse. Do you know anybody who voted for him?
No. I gotta honestly say, I don't even know. I mean, I have an idea of a few people that might have voted for him.
Okay,
but they're maniacs as it is, and man, I don't know why anybody would want this guy as a fucking mayor. I really don't. Yeah. I don't see it. I could see why maybe people wouldn't want Trump as president, but I can't see why anybody would want this guy as mayor. I just don't understand. I mean, to me, if he's allowed to run amok in New York, this is the blueprint to take it to the next step.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's governor, and then eventually they'll run.
No. We already have an asshole governor.
Yes.
Without a doubt. We already have that one in training. But, the city in New York, I feel as though that New York City is bigger than New York State.
Correct.
Even though it's the opposite way around.
The mayor of New York City is much more important than the governor of New York.
Yeah, he's more well known. He's the face of the city and the state and everything else.
It's probably
and he's going to destroy everything. He's going to destroy it.
The mayor of New York City might be the second most important politician in the country.
Yeah, well, listen, man, I don't know what he's thinking and what his mindset is, but he is definitely, without a doubt, on the way to destroying everything. It's unbelievable.
Couldn't agree with you more. So, but we'll get off the politics there. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of football tonight. We're going to talk about Dexter Lawrence. I got some Jet stuff on what the Jets may or may not do in the draft and to fix their roster. We'll talk. I want to ask Jeff what the most important position for the Jets is. It's two choices, so I want to give them two choices. I want to talk about Nolan Ryan, overrated, underrated. And again, we'll talk a little Giants draft. I'm hoping, beyond hope, to do the draft, even though I'm going to be away. To me, it's been 11 years running. I don't want to miss the draft on the show, so we'll figure it out. We'll talk a little Steve Kerr and a whole bunch. And Met fans, how do you feel about Carlos Beltran getting his number retired as a Met? To me, Carlos Beltran is a Houston Astro. Now, I'm not a Met fan, so maybe Met fans have a little more.
He didn't have that much of a career with the Mets, did he?
I didn't think it was more than 5 years. And in fact, I think he wanted to go to the Yankees, and they decided to re-sign Bernie Williams and didn't sign him till later after on all of that. There's no way Nolan Ryan is overrated. Number one. Number two, if you love running back, there is 5. I believe the Giants will take him. Matt, if the Giants take a running back at number 5, I might jump off a building. I'm not telling you that he's not a generational talent. The problem I have is there's too many other holes that need to get fixed before you fix that running back at number 5. And what's the sense of fixing? We went through this with Saquon. I loved Saquon pick. I thought it was generational. I think he's a Hall of Fame back. At this point in his career, he's probably on the doorstep of it. But I'll tell you, they didn't have enough around him, and it was a wasted pick. And Love might be the same thing. I personally want a no doubt 100% player in that spot. I don't care if it's a safety. I don't care if it's a corner, a wide receiver. I take it the best offensive lineman available if they have it. I don't care. And it's not that I don't think the kid's a good player or going to be a great player. It's just not that big a need right now. Tyrone Tracy can play. Scatterable can play. You can find a running back in the draft to grab. To me, as much as that running back might be a great player, I just don't see it, Jeff. I don't see taking it back at number 5 when you got so many holes.
I hear you, Tom. I don't know. You got to look at it this way. There's a lot of teams on the top of the draft that have a lot of holes.
Yeah, obviously.
There seems to be.
Top of the draft.
Well, I understand that, but more so than usual. There's like, the Jets need a bunch of players, the Cardinals need a bunch of players, the Titans are a bad team and need a bunch of players. So by the time the Giants get there, you don't know who's going to be on board and everything else. And they had a good draft last year. They got a couple players that, helped them out immensely.
Yeah.
Or that, should be good as long as they stop getting hurt. But, listen, you don't know what the mindset of this organization is. You got a quarterback that could run a little bit. You got Scatterboo. I mean, do you really need to take a back that soon?
Well, I know
and
that
it has nothing to do with with Saquon Barkley either.
No, of course not. No, it doesn't, and it shouldn't. But new regime, a whole bit. But you have such big holes. We were the worst run defense in football last year. You need to shore that up, right? You can use a safety, you can use a defensive tackle. Even if they keep Dexter Lawrence, they still are weak, and he was horrendous. He was bad last year. So they need a linebacker. They need an offensive guard. Both guard positions need to be fixed at this point. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. Will Jeremiah Love be a better player than Tyrone Tracy or Cam Scatterboo and Devin and Singletary? Yes, he automatically is the best back in the room. But it won't matter. He's the tallest midget in the circus. It won't matter. I agree with you, Matt. I think it is Caleb Downs at 5 if the Giants stay there. So, yeah, Jeff, sorry.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of teams that don't seem to have that one special lead back. It seems to have caught on a running back by committee. So I'm not saying that you have to do what every other team does, but is this a team that's still finding its identity with Jackson Dart and Scatterboo? I mean, to me, not for nothing, you have wide receivers that seem to get injured rather easily.
Yeah.
In Neighbors, I think I would want to maybe go after a receiver and give Jackson Dart somebody. And you lost Wendell Robinson.
Yeah.
Maybe go after somebody that that you could use as a receiver or some shit. I don't know.
They seem to they did a decent job in the offseason filling the receiver room up. Again, with second-tier players, it would not break my heart if they took the best wide receiver in the draft at number 5. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't think that's realistic. I think the receivers will go first after Mendoza, after the Jets take probably a defensive rusher, maybe it's Reese.
I think there's going to be a rush on defensive players the first couple picks.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
But it would not break my heart if the Giants took a receiver there, because you're right. A wide receiver is a big need for the Giants. I mean, Neighbors a little injury prone, maybe, okay, and they definitely need another punch over there. Now, they are trying to build. He wants to run the ball. He wants to play run defense. So to me, it's either an offensive lineman or it's some sort of defensive player, and I'm leaning that it's going to be a defensive player at that point. So we'll see. I want to get my pops on. Let's talk a little baseball with. I want to talk a little bit about Nolan Ryan. Again, Joe Gansas sent me something, and he asked me my thoughts, and I said it came to my brain. I think that Nolan Ryan is the most overrated and underrated pitcher I probably have ever seen, and I'll show you the stats. And you can make up your own mind. But
I already have my opinion formed. So I mean, I want to see the stats and everything that you got. But I want to spend some time on that. That's going to be a good one. We all have our opinions on Nolan Ryan and where he stands. I mean, I'm not going to get your dad on. I'm not going to get too much into it right now.
Yeah, let's not get too deep. Let's get Pops on. Let's see what he got to say. Maybe he wants to weigh in on that one. What's up, Pop? Oh, Pop, we can't hear you.
That's not good.
Volume up. Check your volume. Oh, hold on. Maybe it's me. Your mic.
When I had to put my mic on.
Now? Yeah, now we got you. Yeah, you were muted. Yep.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. I think he's a good pitcher. He was a good pitcher.
Yep.
And I would say that I classify him, if you put him in Sandy Koufax, Drysdale, Juan Marichal, no. Because they played with bad teams too.
Yep.
And they were still great.
Yeah, and again, I think he listen when a guy has 7 no hitters, struck out 5,700 players, he's obviously a great pitcher, but he also holds the record for most walks all time. He led the league in walks 8 times. He never won a Cy Young, and his career record, I don't know how you put it, but it's 324, but versus 292 losses. It's not really great.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy you don't want to face, and a lot of guys would say they never wanted to face him, Jeff. But I would also say that you could beat him. It's not he wasn't an unbeatable pitcher, and he played for 27 years. So are his numbers compiled?
Well, listen, he played. We're going to break this down. Let's we'll do it. How many years did he play for the Mets, and not exactly the greatest of teams? And how many years did he play for the Angels? Were not exactly the greatest of teams. So half his career was spent between the Angels and the Mets in the early part of his career.
Right.
And they weren't exactly the greatest teams. I don't think the Angels were making the playoffs for several years. I don't think he did much with the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he only won 20 games like twice.
Right.
And he led the league in losses one year, but he also led the league in strikeouts for how many years? But when any player under the sun plays for 27 years, they're going to lead the league in something. And strikeouts, walks, and everything else, they go hand in hand. The guy was a power pitcher, and incredible arm. He was able to last 27 years. Mm-hmm. The last couple years weren't so good. His stats weren't so good, but listen, I don't think he ever made it to a World Series either, though. But
I'm not sure. Was he part of the '69 Mets that in the World Series? No, right? So yeah, right. Jeff.
Was he?
Wait, yes, he was.
But he wasn't a starter on that team, was he?
No, he was there in the bullpen.
Right.
Did he make it with Houston? Didn't Houston? No, Houston didn't make it to the World Series.
Not till later on.
86, they played the Mets.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In the playoffs, and they got knocked out.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that he's overrated, but I can't say he's underrated either.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll give you 87. So in 1987, it's an overrated season for him. Why? Okay, so he led the league in ERA. He led the league in strikeouts, led the league in fewest hits per 9 innings. Great, right? He was 8-16. Now, are you telling me that they scored no runs, or did he do all of that and give up some runs or enough runs? So here's the key. He pitched great, but it was not historically great. His walk rate was still high. He had long stretches of inconsistency. So he may be incredibly hard to hit for a couple of games and then go a long streak of being batted around. So
8-16 says you that right off the bat that there was something wrong.
Yep.
But you want to know something? I could say this much. I could bring somebody else up right now.
Go ahead.
What about Jacob deGrom? The guy was winning 9 games a year, and everybody was saying that he's the greatest pitcher in baseball. And
it's a great point.
He can't go according to wins and losses. The guy is great. He does this, he does that, he does this, and now at this point in time, he's probably just an average pitcher if he's even a starter in the league. Because I don't follow baseball, so I don't know.
He's still around. He actually had a decent year last year for the Rangers. It was his first good year in a few years. He was semi-healthy. I think he had 30 starts. I'm not 100% sure of that. But I know he got through a good part of the season for the first time in a while. And deGrom is a great example, Jeff, of that, because deGrom, if he's judged on the physical analytics of baseball, deGrom is not a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's only got 80-something wins, so he shouldn't get anywhere near it. But for 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, he was a dominant pitcher. He just played on some putrid teams who couldn't score runs. So his problem, and the reason he won't get in, is because of the injuries. So he had too many years where he just didn't pitch enough to warrant being in the conversation. Had he started 30 games a year for a bunch of years and just had bad teams around him, you can make the argument. But for me, he didn't pitch enough to warrant the conversation.
Well, I'm looking him up right now real quick. He's 37 years old, so he probably doesn't have enough time in his career to even say hit 150 wins or even come close.
Yeah.
And nowadays, well, you got to figure 150 wins get you in the Hall of Fame.
It could, yeah.
At the rate that they're winning nowadays.
Yeah, you can absolutely put that in the books. Yeah, I think that DeGrom's one of those guys that if you watched him pitch, you knew how great he was, how great and dominant he was for a few years. The problem was he didn't pitch enough, and the problem was he played on a bad team, really bad team.
Well, a lot of pitchers, Mel Stottlemyre, same way. He was a really good pitcher when he came up with the Yankees, but he played on such bad teams that he was lucky he could win 20 games. I think he did once or twice. I think he did.
Yeah, he had a couple of big years, Mel Stottlemyre. He just, again, he showed up about 5 years too late. Had he come a little earlier and been part of those great Yankee teams of the late 50s and early 60s, it might have been a little different for him. But Matt, I'd have to look up his stats. I would tell you, having watched both of those guys pitch, especially Randy Johnson, I don't think it's a comparison. Randy Johnson was dominant as a pitcher. I think he won 3 Cy Youngs. I mean, I don't know how many games he won, but there was no doubt when you watch Randy Johnson, he was a Hall of Fame pitcher. I would say that I don't have a problem with Nolan Ryan being in the Hall of Fame, 320 wins, all the strikeouts. A lot of magic numbers that were clicked, right, Jeff? I mean, you can find out.
Real quick, Randy Johnson was 303 and 166 with an ERA of 3.29.
Yeah,
he played for 22 years. He was also pretty much a journeyman. He made his way around the league. That bothers some people. 12 in the AL, 12 in the National League.
How many strikeouts for his career?
I'm trying to get all of that stuff, to be honest with you.
4,000. It's got to be about 4,000 or 3,000.
Yeah, he was up there. He had some.
Yeah, I think
he led. Randy Johnson led the league in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. He led the league in strikeouts, and he had 4,875 strikeouts.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good comparison, Randy Johnson and Nolan Ryan. I think the best comparison, even though the numbers are nowhere near each other, is probably DeGrom and Nolan Ryan. I think that.
Oh, you know what? I got to be honest with you, Tom. You know what? Randy Johnson only broke 20 games 3 times.
Okay.
So he has a high of 24. So, I mean, that's comparable to Nolan Ryan, although I do understand what you're saying overall.
Yeah, but, his win percentage is much higher than than Nolan Ryan. I mean, Ryan lost almost 300 games in his career while winning 300. The other guy, doubled it. So I agree. It's not a terrible comparison. I'm just saying.
Randy Johnson also spent most of his career in the American League, where he didn't have to bat.
Correct. Same with Nolan Ryan. He was, for the most part, Angels.
He was in the Mets, and then but he also spent some time in the Astros.
Absolutely. Pop, you would know it better than me, but I think Nolan Ryan is that guy. If you turn one way, you could say he's overrated, and you turn another way and say nobody wanted to face the guy. He was underrated.
Well, it's the best way to me to describe Nolan Ryan. If I got the 7th game of the World Series, do I want him pitching a game? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I agree with
not.
that. No, you're absolutely. That is a great way to say. I would want DeGrom to pitch Game 7 when he was pitching at his best. Right. I certainly would want Randy Johnson coming in and shutting the doors on somebody. So you're right. Nolan Ryan wasn't that guy that you would say every 5th day you were terrified he was going to pitch.
I think you would. I think I would classify Randy Johnson as a more intimidating pitcher than Nolan Ryan. I mean, the guy was almost 7 feet tall. By the time he unleashed the ball, what was he, about 45 feet away from you?
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean? Like by the time he took the jump off the mound and everything else, and you know that you got to take that into comparison. Nolan Ryan threw the ball hard, but when he pitched, he looked like he was more in like in a softball league, like.
Yeah. Again, listen, he was a tough guy. The Ryan, was it the Ryan Express, the whole bit? I mean,
was that Ryan Sandberg? He kicked his ass or some shit.
Oh, Robin Ventura. Yeah, he kicked the shit out of Robin Ventura.
Ask him how tough he was.
Yeah. So I mean, I have a lot of respect for Nolan Ryan as a pitcher. I mean, you get 5,700 strikeouts. I don't care if it's 25 or 30 years. It's an accomplishment. You win 324 games on some very bad teams. I think it's an accomplishment. But I think there's too many negatives for me to say he's underrated. I would, if you ask me, I would tell you he's a bit overrated. But also, Jeff, when you're putting together lists, I would tell you he's probably not showing up in your top 5, maybe not even your top 10. If you were putting together a top 10 list of pitchers you were going to watch that you watched in the 70s and 80s, I'm not sure Nolan Ryan makes my list. I'm not sure about everybody else. I'm talking for myself.
So I don't know how you couldn't, because he was a dominant pitcher at his time.
Yeah,
he was striking people. I mean, I think he holds the season record for most strikeouts. Like, was it 383 or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, he's got the career record for sure.
I mean, I believe me when I tell you, I understand everything you're saying, because you're right. It's one of those guys, you just don't know which way to go with it. But you know what, dude? He was a man that was throwing the ball 100 miles an hour before guys were throwing the ball 100 miles an hour.
But he wasn't doing anything with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You want to stand, if I threw the ball 100 miles an hour and I was a little wild, you want to stand at home plate?
No, but you're still talking about, if I give him the ball, it's not like giving it to Randy Johnson or anybody. Juan Marichal.
I know 100%. But I'd also be afraid if you were throwing the ball 100 miles an hour to me. I'd be like, I'm backing off the plate.
He wasn't as good a pitcher as he was supposed to be.
Well, I think that's the argument. I think the argument is, I think he was intimidating. I think he was a tough pitcher. I think he earned the right to go to the Hall of Fame. I just say I don't put him in a high regard in the overall class of pitchers. He's not Pedro Martinez. He's not Randy Johnson. He's not
in the upper.
Greg Maddux. Yeah,
he's not in the upper echelon.
Yeah, like I said,
pitches.
He would probably just miss being in my top 10. He would fall somewhere probably between 10 and 15 of the pitchers I got to watch. He's not Mariano. He's not. There's a lot of guys I would take in his era, or just outside of his era, that I would take over Nolan Ryan, especially like that. My dad said, it's one thing, to trot him out every 5th day. If I had to win a big series or win a World Series in Game 7, do I want him on the mound? And the answer would be probably not.
You know what? I mean, this is a debate that could go on.
Sure, absolutely.
For weeks. But I got to ask you both something. When you say your top pitchers and you bring up a relief pitcher, how could you put a starting pitcher and a relief pitcher in the same in a top 10? It's like two different animals, man, because they each had two different jobs.
Correct.
I would have a hard time doing that.
I agree with you.
I would tell you, here's why I would tell you. It's not based on anything other than the guy that I thought was like Mariano Rivera. To me, is hands down the best pitcher I ever saw. Yes, he only pitched an inning at a time. Sometimes he would go 2. I've even saw sometimes he went 3. But as far as being dominant at his position for the amount of time he pitched, I mean, the guy didn't have a bad year. I mean, after,
Well, how could you have a bad year if you're only pitching like a third of an inning sometimes?
You know what? I agree with you, and I understand it. I'm just saying, for me, pound for pound, he might be the best pitcher I ever saw, pound for pound. I'm not saying he's the best starter. He wasn't. If you ask me who the best starter I ever saw, that's a different conversation. It's probably Roger Clemens. It could be Greg Maddux. But pound for pound as a pitcher, if you wanted a guy on the mound at any point in the game, the best guy and the guy who did the job the best that anybody I ever watched was Mariano Rivera. It's just, and I get your point, Jeff. It's not for 9 innings. You're not facing the lineup 3 times. But this is a guy who from 1996 through his last year was the ultimate. The Yankees won 5 World Series because of Mariano Rivera.
Without a doubt. He had definitely had a hand in it, and you can't take anything away from him. I just feel as though that if you're going to make a top 10, that it's kind of unfair to the starters to put relievers in there.
I agree.
Now there's a lot of good relievers, and if you said to me that out of all the relievers that you ever saw, Mariano Rivera would be the best, it would be hard to disagree.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as like a top 10, I just think it takes away from guys that ate up innings. You know what I mean?
I
now,
you.
no fault of his own, because the game once again changed. So he wouldn't come in the 6th or 7th inning to finish out a game. But he has no control over that.
Correct. But I just say, like I said, to me, he was the single best weapon I've ever seen in baseball. When Mariano Rivera came into a game, it was lights out. It was over. It was, it was done. I mean, the amount of failures is, you can count them on one hand and you can recite them. I mean, that's how good he was. And again, Yankees won 5 World Series. That guy was the ultimate weapon. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. So, I mean, but your point is well taken. Again, Matt Eckersley was a great pitcher. There was a lot of good ones. Nobody was Rivera. It's Rivera and everybody else after that. And we can argue over, who was number 2, and it probably was Eckersley as number 2. But to me,
Mariano, as far as relievers go,
yeah, you can argue. There's a bunch of guys.
There always seems to be. I mean, of course, it's hard to say Mariano Rivera is not the greatest reliever of all time. Yeah. But every generation seems to have their greatest reliever at the time. And we've gotten to see some really good ones. I mean,
absolutely.
Over the years, there's been some tremendous relievers that have been out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, from Raleigh Fingers to the guy who's the guy for the Cubs, Smith.
Lee Smith.
Yeah, Lee Smith. Lee Smith. There was a whole bunch of those guys. Goose, of course, was
one. That's why he had trouble.
Yeah, so
trouble.
Right, so there was a lot of great ones. Don't get me wrong. The Mobile 2 World Series.
That's why I argue with people all the time. There's no such thing as a GOAT.
Everybody blew 2 World Series. 2001 he blew. I don't think he blew the one against the Marlins, and he blew a playoff game against the Indians, I think, in 97.
Yes.
I think it was the Indians in 97. But with all the opportunities that he had, all the games that he pitched, I'll take those 2 to the grave. I mean, there's a lot of other guys who've had one opportunity and blown it. So I'm with you.
Just think of some of the guys that we just mentioned as relievers.
Yeah.
And how many of them have 5 World Series titles on their career?
Yeah, and it's not just having 5 World Series. There's a guy who was
that's important. That's an important thing.
But he was instrumental in them winning those 5 World Series.
Of course. But it's a big thing. It's a big point.
Yeah.
We're just talking 100%. About Nolan Ryan. He don't have maybe he has 1 fucking World Series title if he was lucky.
I think he got one with the 69 Mets, although I think he was a more of a bit player on that team. There was such a great staff in front of him that I think he was there, but I don't think he got to pitch all that much. I certainly don't think he started. So, but yeah, so it's an interesting conversation, and
you never get an answer.
No, there is no right or wrong answer. Whether I believe he's overrated or underrated, and Jeff has a different opinion, it's an opinion. And
for Nolan Ryan?
Yeah, Nolan Ryan's in the Hall of Fame.
No, I could see both sides of the coin with that.
Absolutely, so could I.
And if you know anything at all, and I'm not saying I know all of it, don't get me wrong. If you know anything at all about baseball, it would be hard to argue one way or another and just say, no, he's overrated or no, he's underrated. Because right off the bat, you look at his record and you'd be like, well, he's just a little bit better than a 500 pitcher. And then you look at some other statistics. He holds a record that may never be beat in baseball. How many strikeouts? It took him 27 years to get almost 6,000 strikeouts.
And pitching, probably an average of 7-8 innings a game. So you're not getting guys pitching like that now. So I agree with you.
The guy definitely stood the test of time. 27 seasons.
Absolutely. And Matt, we've talked about Tom Seaver. I think Tom Seaver is one of the best pitchers I've ever watched. The problem for Seaver was he spent a lot of time with those bad Met teams went to the Reds after they were the Red Machine. Again, one of the best. I mean, Dad, where would you put Tom Seaver as a pitcher that you watched?
I put him in my top 10.
Yeah,
Not my top 5. Not my top 5.
Yeah, I mean, as far as power pitchers, guys, I mean, that's a guy who I would tell you, if you marked a piece of dirt in front of him during a game and said he was going to land in this spot, he would land in the same spot. His mechanics were so good. They were so legendary. He got such power. One of the best pitchers I have got to see. And I got to see him kind of later in his career when he was with the White Sox, a little bit with the Reds, a little bit, later on. But definitely one of the best pitchers of all time.
Remember when he got traded to the Reds, man?
Oh, absolutely.
The baseball world went upside down.
Who did he get traded for?
I don't know. Joel Youngblood?
There you go. Joel Youngblood.
And wasn't it more than Joel Youngblood and somebody else?
Probably. I don't think it was a straight up deal that way. But Joel
My God, I hope not.
I actually got Joel Youngblood's autograph at my baseball awards dinner. So I have Joel Youngblood's. Yes.
I got Joel Youngblood's autograph also. But I got mine from him at Island Chevrolet on Castleton Avenue when I was a kid. Lee Mazzilli was supposed to be there, and Joel Youngblood was signing autographs.
Wow.
And there was a third guy that was there also. And I remember my father complaining because Joel Youngblood was leaning up against the car. He had his ass on the car. And he's like, who the hell's this guy? He's got his ass on the car. Imagine buying a car. This guy's got his ass on the car. Who wants his ass prints on the car?
Yeah, Frank, you were probably at that dinner too. Frank, it wasn't Youngblood that got traded for Seaver. Who did Seaver get traded for?
I think he was part of the deal.
I thought so too, but Frankie says no. Louis Pica says it was Seaver. Seaver, Carlton, Catfish was great. Jim Palmer, Fergie Jenkins, Ryan, some really great pitchers. Yeah, Louis, all those guys. I mean, Steve Carlton is a guy that nowadays doesn't get mentioned much, but boy, oh boy, and Catfish was great. Even with the Yankees, Catfish had some great years. So Seaver traded for. Oh, that's it. Flynn. Tom Flynn, Pat Zachary, and Steve Henderson. Okay, good call.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Yeah, that's right. Oh, that was the other guy, by the way, that was at the place, Steve Henderson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I must have been racist because I didn't want his autograph.
Heck of a player.
I'm going to let you go. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You got us over the weekend.
See you over the weekend.
You got it,
Pop. See you later, Mr. Florio.
Yes, that's a good call, Frankie. I thought it was Youngblood, but you're right. That's the trade. So, Hard Rocket Sports, we got a lot to get to. We'll talk Dexter Lawrence right now, and with Jeff, and we're going to get to a little bit of draft talk tonight, and I want to talk about Steve Kerr and his plan to fix load management in the NBA and how ridiculous it is. And Steve Kerr's the biggest dick, bro. Him and what's his name, Popovich, two of the biggest dicks in the NBA, but. Let's get to Dexter Lawrence.
First, do me a favor. Explain to me what's going on, because this is what I don't understand with these guys. Why do they put on a show right around draft time? Okay, who wants to retire? Who does retire? Who wants to come out of the fucking woodwork now and wants to sign? Who wants to get traded or whatever? Why, in God's name, would you start saying you're demanding a trade now when the free agent rush was over? You could have, maybe your team could have said, okay, we could trade you over to here. They already called up about you. Now maybe it'd be too late. Maybe another team there's not a place for you.
Yeah,
no?
I think at this point, I think they do that because they know that there are a lot of conversations had during the draft about trading players. So now if you're the Giants or you're another team and Dexter Lawrence comes out and says, hey, I want to be traded. Now, a team that may have been in the market for a college defensive tackle says, wait. We could trade our pick. We could trade our number 10 pick and get Dexter Lawrence because he wants to leave the Giants. I think that's why it gets on. Why he waited to this point makes no sense to me either. I'm only giving you my guess.
If it's 3 years ago, when the guy was having monster seasons, it's one thing. Yeah. You're coming off an off year. Now you decide that you want to announce to the world you no longer want to play on the Giants. And now you want to get traded. But you didn't do nothing last year for them to come knocking on your door. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you're right. But you want to know something? If I could get a college player at 10 or wherever, it doesn't matter. You're in the first round, I could get a college player. You have some control over his contract, and you have a lot more control over a rookie than you would a veteran player. I think I would rather go, like, if you got a can't miss rookie coming out of college, I'll be like, I'll take him over this guy that had a down year last year. So what do you want him for 3-4 years for? And then he does dick.
Well, here to Matt, I'll say this: Lawrence is probably not going anywhere, but I wish he would, and I'll tell you guys why. He signs a 4-year deal 2 years ago, and immediately decides he wants more money. So they've been negotiating every offseason the last couple of years to try to give him more money. So in the meantime, he got a new contract, got his money. They were trying to talk to him about a new contract, trying to figure it out, and he shows up last year out of shape to camp and has a horrendous season. I watch every game, and I said it during the season on this show that he was not the same player. Now they'll say, oh, he had a bad elbow, he had a bad arm, he had this and that. I will tell you this: if I'm another team and I see the way he acted for a team that gave him big bucks, made him I believe their highest paid player at the time, and he showed up out of shape and disinterested, I would tell you I wouldn't want anything to do with him. Now, he's a 20-year-old player who, when he is motivated and does play well, to me, is a top 2 or 3 defensive tackle in the league.
20-year-old, but you mean 20-something-year-old?
28-year-old. He's 28.
All right, so, not for nothing. Okay, he may be a top player, but he's also at 28 years old. A lot of people may look at him as somebody that's starting on the decline.
No, I agree. But if you're the Denver Broncos, and Frankie's right, I would always want the established player over the draft pick, because there's a 50-50 chance in any draft pick at this point in time that they're never going to get where they want, or they may achieve their level after your team is on the decline. Teams have to win now. So like Frankie's team, they're ready to win a Super Bowl, right? If Bo Nix doesn't get hurt, there's an outside chance that they're the best team and they're going to win it all, right?
Yeah, it's a shame they don't have like a Terrell Davis this year,
Yes, if they had Terrell Davis, but so to me, a guy like Lawrence, for them, motivated, makes them even better. And they had a great defense. They had top 2-3 defense in the league last year. So, Frankie, I would say this: if you could trade for Dexter Lawrence and you get to Dexter Lawrence, who's motivated, who played lights out 2 or 3 years ago, I would tell you, getting a great player who's going to make your defense even, if not the best, right there. But if you get the Dexter Lawrence of last year, and you'll probably see that same Dexter Lawrence the next couple of years, especially if he gets paid, because this is his last shot for a contract, Jeff. At 28 years old, he's not going to get, a 4-year deal and then get another mega deal, and it won't happen.
I doubt that.
Right.
I doubt that. You would have to, but there's always some retard that'll.
No, agreed. But to me, if you think you're going to get the A+ player at 32, so he's going for it now while he thinks he can. So to me, as a Giant fan, and Louis, I understand your point. You're mixed. I'm mixed because he can be a great player, and I've been high on Dexter Lawrence since he came out of college. But I'll also tell you that he played unmotivated last year. He played uninspired football and went from 9 sacks to a half a sack. And I think it was generous to give him the half a sack last year. And if this is his true motivation is, well, I know I signed the contract and I have 2 more years on it, Jeff. This isn't over. He's got 2 more years. He's got this year and next year. And his answer is
big money.
He's making 20-something million. He's just not the highest paid defensive tackle. So a couple of guys over the last couple of years have gotten bigger deals. So to me, if I were the Giants and I could get what the Jets got for Quinnen Williams, and he's a better player than Quinnen Williams. He's not as young as Quinnen, but to me, he's a better player. If I could get a number 1 and a number 2, or a couple number 1s, or some significant package, and save money, yes, I would trade him tomorrow, and I would get it. But
you would have to, because he's an older player. But I mean, I don't know. If you're saying that he was a pain in the ass about his contract from day one, and now he's older and he's doing this now. You know, it's going to be a hard sell. Somebody's going to really need him or want him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm mixed because here's the thing. So, but here's my other point, Louis. If you're still listening, tell me how you feeling, Matt, Frankie. You were the worst run defense in the league last year with him. I think we could save money, get some draft capitals, and still be the worst run defense in the league this year. You're not going from being the best run defense and losing him. He was part of the worst run defense in the league. So to me, again, he's the tallest midget in the circus. I don't care if he's the best player on a very bad run defense. It didn't help. So for me, if you got a right deal, Jeff, I'm not cutting him. To me, if I was the Giants, I tell him this: you either show up or don't show up. You get paid what your contract says. If you don't want to play, stay home and don't get paid. And if you show up and you play like crap, good luck on your next contract. So if I was them.
I just don't understand these guys. They get paid and it's just not good enough for them. I just don't understand it, man. Yeah. You signed how much more do you want? What do you got to get?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know, Jeff. To me, it's easy to say that sitting here. Now, I've never been that guy to go to my boss and say, hey, so-and-so makes more money than me and I do more than him and I want to get paid. It's obviously at a much minuscule level than these guys. But to me, if I walk in and somebody's paying me good money, I'm happy. You know what? I can't worry about what a guy on another team gets paid because they have a better salary cap situation. So to me, as a Giant fan, I hope the Giants trade him. I hope they trade him to a very bad team and he doesn't get a new contract and he wallows in this for the rest of his couple years in this league. That's how I feel.
Oh, listen, I honestly, if it was my situation,
yeah,
and you got a guy that's like the team is starting to maybe trend in the right direction. You have some players in place.
Yep.
It's a possibility that the team is about to take the next step. You got a different coach. Yeah. You want to start now? Like why don't you see what happens? Maybe you'll actually win.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll win some games. It just goes to prove that this is a money fucking league. It's a money game. I know we've talked about this before in the past. These guys don't care about anything else other than their bottom line, and that's all they care about. We could say, and I don't care what anybody else says, we could say that, if we wanted to play the game, if we played the game, we'd want to play because we want to get a chance to win. That's because we're fans and we want our teams to win, and we're like, let's do something here. But these guys, you're talking millions and millions of dollars, and he's getting $20 million now. So what? Maybe he'd be happy. I'll get $22 million, but I got to go play with the Cardinals. But it doesn't matter. I'm getting $22 million here. I don't care.
Yeah. Again, it's if you told me, hey, I'm happy with my contract, but I'm tired of the losing. I want to go play for a winning team. I would almost respect that. At least you say the guy's got a fire. He wants to win. He wants to play. This is about money, and it's all about money. And I'll tell you another thing. I listen to the Giants all the time. I try, I listen to Carl Banks. I'm not the biggest fan of Carl Banks, the analyst, as I was Carl Banks, the player. But Carl Banks basically came out last year and said, Dexter, you better start playing. Teams don't respect you anymore. You're not, Carl Banks ripped him publicly on radio and TV, ripped him publicly as a guy who just was disinterested and was not the performer that he should have been. And that's telling. When your home team announcer and a Giant legend is ripping you publicly, it's telling you a lot. So for me...
Yeah, but you know what, Tom? While I understand everything you're saying with that, and you're right, it does say a lot. Look at the defense that guy fucking played on. You can't even compare the defense that Carl Banks was on compared to what Dexter Lawrence was on. It's impossible.
Yeah, see, now, again, I think it's admirable when guys like Tom Brady and some of these other guys say that they'll take less money they're guys who, you've either made your big contract or you're making money off the field. And I think it's admirable when players do that. And I'm not saying that he should take less money. I'm saying is you signed a goddamn contract for 4 years. Play it out. And unfortunately,
they don't look at it that way, Tom. They don't care. They don't give a fuck.
But to me, that bothers the crap out of me. Now, again, if he said, hey, it's not a money thing, I want to be traded. No, he's not saying to Frankie out loud that he wants to be traded for money. But the Giants have leaked it and said the last 2 off seasons, his team, his agents have tried to renegotiate to get his deal because he went from being like the second highest defensive tackle paid in the league to like 12th, and it's irritating him. And I'm sorry.
If Frank Catalano actually watches football, which we know he does,
right,
then he knows that half these players look to get traded and moved because they're missing out on some money.
Right,
because in their mindset, there's a big difference between being second highest paid in the league and 12th highest paid in the league. I mean, forget it.
Yeah, again, he knows, and most teams know that if let's say the Giants were to trade him to the Cowboys, I'm just going to use Cowboys as a for instance, he would go to the Cowboys and say, I want to renegotiate my deal, and the Cowboys would probably do it to get him happy. They may have cap room, and they'll say, all right, you know what? We're going to give you a $50 million signing bonus and prorate your contract over 5 years. And he'd be a happy guy. He gets a big boatload of cash in his pocket, and he can go out there and eat all the ho-hos and, the barbecue and be sexy Dexy. Again, as a Giant fan, I'll say it one more time. Trade him, get as much as you can for him, but trade him to the worst team in the league if you possibly can. And Frank Catalano, yes, that might be the Jets. I'm not really sure, but trade him away.
I wouldn't want to see him on the Jets.
No, I'm sure you wouldn't.
No,
I'm sure you wouldn't.
First of all, if the Jets are once again rebuilding and doing what they're doing, why do we want to get a fucking 28-year-old fucking player? By the time they become relevant, this guy will be 30 years old, 31 years old. I wouldn't even want that.
Yeah, I agree. Frank and Matt, there is basically, if you hold out, you don't get paid. Like if you don't show up, you get paid based on showing up for practices and games and all that stuff. So if he holds out, he don't get no checks. So, at this point, I tell him, show up and play. You got a 2-year contract. If you don't show up and play, and if you want another contract from somebody else, if we got, you're going to have to play your ass off to get it. So, but Frank Catalano, one of the places that it would be smart, and if the problem is they don't have the capital, I think, the Giants traded him for the 30th pick in this year's draft isn't sexy. Now, it's not terrible. So, but if you can get 2 number ones, I trade him tomorrow in a heartbeat, Jeff. So
I just want to, Matt mentioned something I didn't see the comment because I got to keep flipping between screens. Yeah, Matt, you're right. There are some players that'll do certain things to help the team, but they're very few and far between. Every single player is about themselves and their brand and the money that they're going to make. Yeah. And if I know that me and you play the same position and you just got a deal for $25 million and I'm making $22 million, and I understand $3 million is $3 million, but we're both rich. We're both rich. And what difference does it make if you got $3 million more than me? Go out there on the field, produce, and maybe the team comes to you and says, listen, we want to rework your deal because we want you to stick around for a while. We want to do something. And they give you a better deal than you got now. But every single player, for the most part, is going to take the money as opposed to giving money back. They're not Tom Brady, CeeDee Lamb, and a few others that actually want to win. I mean, what more could you say? It's disgusting.
Yeah. No, it is. Hard Rocket Sports. That's Chef, and I'm Tom. We're here every Thursday night. For who knows how long. And we look forward to doing these conversations. And we show our frustration. We show our passions as fans. And we look forward to being able to vent our frustrations on guys who we love to watch on Sundays. And it gets frustrating when you realize that the guy's not playing for the love of the game or the love of your team or to win. He's playing for money. And while I understand everything's about money, you would hope that 20 million is enough to get somebody to love the game enough.
I always love, and I've said it before on the show, I think the funniest thing is when you're watching the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Okay, and it's kickoff time.
Yeah.
And they say, well, look, Joe Blow, this is probably the last game he's playing with this organization. He's going to be a free agent. He's already said that he wants to go here or play there, or,
Right.
and it's all about money. It's meanwhile you're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If you win and who knows what endorsements may come your way, why not wait till after the game to worry about that? Just unfucking believable.
It is, and you know what, Jeff?
But then again, like you said, I'm making the same rate of pay for the next God knows how long until the next contract comes up if I'm still there.
Right.
So it does not matter what anybody says. This is what I'm making. I'm going to make it today, tomorrow, the day after, next week, next month.
Yep.
It's not going to change. These guys are the only people that I know that could sign a contract. I'm getting what I'm supposed to be getting. I'm happy. I want to be here at $20 million a year. And then 2 years later, I don't want to be here no more. Trade me.
Yeah.
So-and-so down the street is making more money than me. I want to make what he's making.
I couldn't agree with you more. So again, we'll see. And I tell you one last thing on this point. I think this is an interesting thing for John Harbaugh to have to put up with right away. And I think it's going to be very telling. I did not like his response. I was hoping for more, he came out early on and said, I don't want anybody here who doesn't want to be here. Right. If you don't love football and you don't want to play football for the New York Giants, I don't want you here. That was a very big part of his introduction to this team. And then you have this thing come out. And I really wanted him to say, hey, we want Dex to be here. We think he's a fantastic player. But if he doesn't want to be here, take care. Don't show up until you want to be. I wanted a tougher response from Harbaugh. And I get it's hard because then you don't want to lose the team, the locker room. You don't want to cause that. But I really, 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 really wanted that, Jeff. And I know it's not possible probably, but that was the response I wanted from the head coach.
How well liked is Dexter Lawrence on the Giants? Do you know?
I would think he's probably pretty popular. It comes across that he's a pretty popular guy in that team.
So just the situation. You got to be careful and what you say, because then other players may be like, wow, look at this. This guy doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about the money. As a coach, you got a fine line to straddle.
I agree.
You got to think the team. You got to think the players. You got to think yourself. But you can't change the mindset of everybody. And if a player wants the money, you're not going to talk him out of it and be like, come on, man, we could make something special here. He just wants to pad his bank account. That's it.
Nope, 100% agreed. Yeah. So again, I was looking for a little bit more.
Keep going. I gotta go take a fuck quickly.
I was hoping for a little something out of John Harbaugh, but I didn't get it. We'll talk a little bit more about. We got some other stuff coming up. I want to talk about. Let's see. Let's go. Giants big needs, which is one of the Giants right now. Defensive tackle, obviously, either way is a big need. Guard, both interior guard spots are a big need, but the Giants need a defensive playmaker. I am tired of this being the worst run defense in the league every year. Every year, the Giants are the only team I know who give up more 3rd and 15+ first downs. I mean, I can't tell you how many times the Giants have a team that it's 2nd and 30, and the next thing they get 25 yards and now it's a 3rd and 5. Or this 3rd and 17, and they get 18 yards for the first down. It is the most frustrating thing as a Giant fan, how the Giants can never get off the field. So I want a playmaker on defense. We need a receiver. Great. I get it. We need offensive linemen. Great. They've been signing people left and right to play receiver and guard, tackle. I want the Giants to take a no doubt defensive player. I don't care if it's a safety, if it's a linebacker, or a defensive tackle. I want a no doubt 100% full-bred defensive stud. That's what I want for the Giants. So if I'm that, that's what I'm looking for. How about we'll change it? You're right, Frankie. He might. I'm not disagreeing with you, but that I don't want to do that with the 2nd, and 3rd, and 4th round pick. I want a guy at number 5 who's going to make things different. And if that's the kid Tate, the safety, if that's Reese or anybody else playing linebacker, I'll take it. Sonny Styles. But if you undraft Sonny Styles, though, you may want to try to slide down a little bit. I think. Well, let's see. Sonny Styles. I got a list here. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let me get my top list here of. Hold on a second. My top 25 draft. I have my top 25 draft players. Okay, my position. So Sonny Styles is like the seventh, is rated number 7 overall. So Caleb Downs is the guy I would go after. I would obviously have no problem with Arvell Reese if he's still there. But to me, it's going to be Caleb Downs. If all of those guys are gone and you got to go Sonny Styles, I would hope they could drop a little bit to get him. That's my opinion. So so now as far as the Jets go in the draft this year, biggest needs for me are wide receiver. By far the biggest hole outside of Wilson, the depth is thin. Edge, after trading Jermaine Johnson, they need a pass rusher, and they need a quarterback. Now, Jeff, would not grab a quarterback in this draft if I were the Jets. If a late round and there's a Carson Beck there, or if there's Drew Aller from Penn State, if there's a guy like that in the 4th or 5th round, you think about it. But I would not.
Here's the thing I don't get, and maybe you could convince me otherwise. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
If this guy, whoever you're talking about, in the 4th, 5th round, and you see a guy that you're like, well, if this guy has no chance of ever becoming the Jets starter, why take him? Why take him?
I agree with you. I'm saying if you want, well, here's the thing. Most teams want to grab a guy to put on your back. Look at like a Tommy DeVito. The Giants didn't need Tommy DeVito. He rolled up there, and he wound up being a suitable backup. And right now, he's the number 2 guy up in New England. He just got a decent contract. All I'm saying is you want to take a flyer and put a guy there, and you never know that a guy like Beck or Drew Aller or Nussmeier, one of those guys, shapes up. That's great. You can tell me right now the last 5 number 4 picks for the Jets and how many of them are still around. You'd be making a miracle. So I don't have a problem with that. But for the Jets, top 3 picks, they need to be guys who are going to be on the field this year and playing. If you take a flyer on a quarterback at that point, do what you got to do at 4, 5, 6, or 7. But to your point, you're probably not going to find your guy this year. If you're the Jets, you're probably getting your guy next year.
Yeah, more than likely, yeah, you're right. But, I mean, my thing is also this. Why am I going to take somebody when I have so many holes, and maybe you could find a backup guy or somebody that like, oh, this guy slipped through the cracks because he had knee surgery last year. And there he is sitting in the 4th round, and, he was projected to be a number 1 pick 2 years ago. And, I mean, I just feel as though that they have too many different needs to be picking a quarterback.
Yep.
And just to have as a developmental player. You have never developed a quarterback as it is. So it's not like you've gotten the 3rd or 4th round guy in the past, 5th round guy, and they started a couple seasons for you. It's never happened. It's never, ever happened.
Again, if you tell me you took a flyer on a guy who's got pro potential in the later rounds, I can live with that. I'm not telling you you're wrong. You're not. It's almost a wasted pick, and the guy probably will bounce around the league before he kind of finds his niche. But to me, if at 4 or 5, there's a guy there. The Jets got 9 picks in this draft, 9 picks next year. If you grab a guy along the way that you think could be something, and you're not giving up a lot to get him, you're not wasting a high value pick. Like, I think taking Ty Simpson at 16 is a waste. He's years away from being a pro quarterback, in my opinion. And I think you're giving up a prime real estate to get a guy that.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But you want to know something? Here's the thing, and I just want to quote, touch on something that Matt said. Say they take Ty Simpson at 16. Okay, yeah. What difference does it make if they grab him at 16 or they grab him at 33? Okay, you're talking 16 picks. I know, I understand, but that's one story. And Matt, I understand what you're saying, but once again, when was the last Jet quarterback or last Jet player, well, I'll make it even easier, that they took in the 4th or 5th round that became not an instant contributor, but a contributor and helped the team win? Because I can't think of one. Maybe you can. I don't know. And me and Tommy have talked. Yeah, you're right. If you love a player and you think that player is going to help your team, you got to take him. But all of these other quarterbacks that they're talking about as of late, none of them are going to be helping the Jets out. The Jets have never developed a quarterback. I wouldn't want to see them even waste the time and effort on a quarterback if they could get a better one next year. You know, I don't know.
I'm not high on any of the quarterbacks this draft. Drew Aller, I liked a couple years ago, but too many injuries. Carson Beck, he's the poor man's Bo Nix, in my opinion. Stayed around forever. He might turn into something somewhere down the line. I would not draft any of these guys early, but again, if you have the opportunity late, grab a guy. They're not terrible on the aspect of wasting prime real estate on 16. Now, again, if you're the Jets and you feel that Ty Simpson's your guy, I don't care if you take him at 16, 23, 33, or 53. If you feel he's your guy and you want to trade up to grab him, go out and get him. I just think
I would feel better taking him, Ty Simpson, at 16 than I would wasting a pick on a quarterback in the 4th or 5th round when you could get somebody as a backup player, just maybe even a backup offensive lineman or, you know, a special teams player. I would rather do something like that with a pick from the 4th or 5th round. You know, if you get a top-notch defensive player at number 2, and Simpson's sitting there, and you think that's the guy, then why not? I can see that, because then you're going to be picking in 17 picks anyway.
Yeah, I think it's fine if 16, if you like Ty Simpson, if you're the Jets and you want to take the shot at him. Do what I say. They do it. Go for it. Live with it. My problem is he's not helping you this year. If he has to play this year, you're in big trouble, which probably means you're probably going to be looking for a new coach and possibly a new GM in the offseason. So if I'm them, with those 2 picks, I'm looking to get 2 guys in the team this year that are going to make me better, so that way we're not looking for a new coach and GM at the end of the year. And Ty Simpson's not going to be that guy. There's a better than 50-50 chance, that he will not be a good quarterback in this league. One of those guys who didn't play enough in college, you know, I think it's just a shade, under what that it should be.
Okay, I hear you. But let's say that he's still there at 33. You would feel better taking him at 33 instead of 16?
No, I think if you take him if you take him early in the draft, again, he's a guy that if he was around in the 3rd round, I'd be love to grab. I might even grab him at the end of the 2nd round, something like that. I just in the top 16, top 20 picks, for the Jets, I want 2 guys who are immediately going to bear fruit and be great players this year for them. They're going to get on the field and make a difference for them this year. I don't want a quarterback who I think is a developmental guy who is probably at best 2 or 3 years away from being a decent quarterback. That's my problem.
Okay, and that's cool. That's cool. Okay. Now, I know that you can't base your draft on what other teams may be doing or may be thinking. Okay. Sure. That would just be stupid. But there's talk in the thought process that Arizona may take him. What do they got? Like the 3rd or 4th pick in the draft? Yeah. Now, I understand, you know, just because they may jump off the bridge, you don't have to follow them. Yeah. Okay. But if you think that this is your guy, of course, you can't take him in number 2. But if he's there at 16 and you're like, we like this guy, we got to do this. I got to do this. We got to do
it. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't blame them if they did it, Jeff. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying is if I were the GM, if I was Darren Muji or if I was Aaron Glenn, I would rather a guy that I know is going to get on the field this year. And Ty Simpson, in all likelihood, will not get on the field this year as a starter. And it's, again, to be honest with you, it's the same thought process I had last year with Jackson Dart. I didn't want Jackson Dart anywhere near the field. Am I happy he did? Ultimately, yeah, it was worthwhile.
Because now you're talking hindsight because you saw what the guy did. He was able to prove himself.
100%.
But now the same thing in New York. Let's say Geno Smith comes out of the gate, he's good for the first 2 or 3 games. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he becomes Geno again. Yeah. Okay. Now the fan base and the media and everybody else is going to be saying, it's time for Ty. Put in Ty. Put him in. Let's see what he can do. And then when the guy burns out,
right? Exactly.
That's
exactly. It turns into the next Sam Darnold because you rush a guy onto the field and you don't give him the chance to learn and develop the game. Then you turn into, he's terrible. Now you're looking for the next quarterback and you're rushing him out the door and he bounces around the league until he becomes, Geno Smith a few years ago, Sam Darnold the last few years. That's
I'll tell you right now, Ty Simpson doesn't come to the Jets. Mm-hmm. He'll end up by next year throwing for 4,500 yards and 75 touchdowns.
I won't argue with you there.
I'll tell you right now. Yeah, right now. And that'll be the next Dan Marino you watch for the Giants, for the Jets.
Somebody will take him probably. I can see the Steelers grabbing him. There's a bunch of teams that could grab him in that middle first round, end of the first round thing. So it would not shock me. I just think that if you're looking to put him on the field in the next year or two, I think it's a bad move, but we'll see. It's going to be very interesting. And the draft is around the corner, a couple of weeks away, and looking forward to it. And hopefully we'll be able to get on the air that night and do our normal show. Again, I think I think this is a boring draft. I don't expect this to be a lot of movement in this draft. And I think after the first 7 or 8 picks, it just gets mundane. So we'll see. But there are some teams. I made a list. Hold on, let me get my list out. Where's my list? I made a list of some of the teams that I think can jump. I think the Rams at 13 can jump up in this draft. I think that's one team I came up with. Hold on a second. I got a bunch of teams I think can move around in this draft a little bit. Let's see. Okay. So the teams I think can move up in this draft are the Rams. I think the Jets can move up in this draft with either their second round pick at 33 or 16. They got a little capital. If there's a player that they love or they want to grab one of the better receivers if they're coming off the board. Let's see. The Chiefs at number 9 could move up in this draft. The Vikings at 18, I think, are desperate to move up in this draft. And I think the Eagles are in flux, and I think their GM's one of the best in the game. They can move up. I think the teams that can move down in this draft are the Cardinals, the Giants, the Skins, and probably the Seahawks. All can move down in this draft. I disagree with you. Yeah, I think the Seahawks are they're the typical team that won the Super Bowl. The pressure's off, and you can kind of coast a little bit. Let's see, Matt. I think. Let's see. I made a few notes here. Let's see. So I think first off, what I read is they're desperate to win this year. They're going all in, and I think being the Super Bowl's in Los Angeles really kind of puts the moves on them. And I think they're looking for a linebacker. And you mentioned Sonny Styles, and I keep reading that they're all over Sonny Styles, and they won't get him at 13. I think there's a chance that they can move up into the top 10 if Sonny Styles, say, gets past the Giants, gets past, a couple of teams. I could see them moving up from like 13 to 7 or 8 and trying to get to get a guy like Sonny Styles or an impact defensive player in that regard. So just remember I said it. That's all. If they move up, just remember your boy said it. And take running back from. Yeah, again, I'm not saying they're going to slide down. All I'm saying is if the guy they want isn't there, I could see them sliding back. The pressure is off, and they may be looking to grab draft capital and get a bunch of plays on the roster and kind of build for the future a little bit. Once that pressure's off, Jeff, and you win a Super Bowl, I think the mentality changes on what you have to do in the draft.
Well, yeah, but didn't they lose a couple players to free agency?
Well, they lost
they lost their running back or both running backs. One running back got injured. Didn't they lose a receiver too, I believe?
I think they paid in Jigma, but I'm not sure. I have to go kind of do a little research on that. I will. I haven't done my breakdown of the I have not done my breakdown of the teams, all the teams needs. I did the Jets and the Giants. I haven't done the rest of the league yet. I have to work on it this weekend. So, all right, let's move on. It's 8:20, and I got a bunch of other topics I want to get to. So I don't want to get too stuck, Jeff. If you don't mind, again, that's Jeff. He's here every week with me, and we're the Hard Rocket Sports Show. And we're glad to have you guys here with us each Thursday night. lots to talk about. We love talking football with you guys. Next up is Steve Kerr. Now, Jeff, I don't know if you know who Steve Kerr is. Steve Kerr used to play guard for the Chicago Bulls back in the 80s,
Yes.
and he's been the head coach over at Golden State for a bunch of years. He's a liberal communist moron, but let's take the politics out of it. So my biggest problem with the NBA is a couple things. One, too many three-pointers. I mean, teams just shoot 50 three-pointers a game. I love the old school, fast break basketball. I love, players who go to the basket. I find the NBA basketball very boring. I also don't like the fact, Jeff, that the NBA, for some reason, have these 20-something-year-old multimillionaires who can't play 70 games out of 82 in a season.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all, man. It's disgusting.
I've heard all these arguments. Well, it's traveling, it's this, it's that. I watched basketball growing up, and I watched these guys play 82 games, have to work in the off season because they weren't getting the money they're getting now. These guys are in tremendous shape. They get the ultimate travel. I mean, they stay in the finest hotels. If you can't tell me that you can't play, that you need to have, 10 or 12 games a season where you don't play because you're tired, yeah, I got a big problem with that.
Listen, I know you can't compare this, and it's not even comparing. It's comparing apples and elephants. All right, not even apples and oranges. When we were kids, we used to go out in the morning, play all fucking day, all night, and do it all over again the next day. Now, I'm not saying we played on a professional level. Don't get me wrong, but when we were younger, there was no such thing as pitch counts. Tommy's the best pitcher, so Tommy's going to pitch
every game.
Okay. Yeah, every game when we play, he's going to pitch every game. So if we play 3 games today and each game is 9 innings, he's pitching 27 innings, and just the same thing is like, well, he's the best running back, he's the best quarterback or whatever. These guys here, I just don't understand it. It's disgusting, man. It really is disgusting.
Yeah. Again, I saw Robert Parrish, the old center from the Celtics, had done an interview on a podcast. And he was ripping the players. He's like, I played 82 games a year. He says, I wasn't nearly in the shape these guys are. I wasn't making the money these guys are, and I found a way to be on the court every single game. He said, I don't get it. You're working for 2 hours a night, a few days a week. It doesn't make any sense. So I have a hard time.
And they're playing, and I saw what Frank Catalano wrote about there's no defense.
Yeah, he's 100%.
Yeah, you're right. You're playing basically half the game.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Yeah. You're both right.
You're not even playing. You're not playing a full effort. You're not, definitely not. You know what I mean?
100%. So I don't like it. And I think what it really does is a team like Golden State shows up. They're on let's say a 5-game road swing, and they go to Houston the first night they play. The second night they go to Dallas, they play, and then they move on to another team. Maybe they're in New Orleans, right? And they sit half the roster. All their starters sit down for the game. They're not going to play. Load management game. Is it fair to the fans who paid, $200 a ticket, paid $25 for a hot dog, who paid, $50 to park their car, that they're coming in watching, number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 on the roster play that night?
No. You know why? Because as long as the final score is 153 to 137, they don't care because they want to watch a clinic.
Maybe you're right, but if I'm going to watch, if I'm paying to watch the Golden State Warriors, and Curry's not playing, and Thompson's not playing, and Green's not playing, and you go, why did I show up? I could watch this game down the park. There's more. I know the guys down there who are playing. So to me, I think in any sport it sucks. Today's athletes are pampered, but in basketball, again, the only sport that really doesn't do it is hockey. Even baseball. Oh, Aaron Judge, he's played 3 games in a row. He's walking around in the outfield chewing on sunflower seeds and sitting in an air-conditioned dugout for half the game. Please. But basketball is the worst of the worst, right?
As far as hockey goes, neither one of us is a huge hockey fan. And, knows all of these players, so we can only assume that they play. But you also, if you look at the stats in hockey, they're not playing the same way that there once was. The role of enforcer is not as important, nearly as important. You're lucky if you get a handful of guys that crack 100 points. I bet you if you look now at the stats, I'll give it a quick look.
Yeah.
I bet you the guy that scored the most goals, there may be one or two guys that hit 50 goals if you're lucky.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, that's a good lookup. I think
goals 51, 49, 47. That's the top three. The top four in points: 133, 127, 123, and 108.
Yeah, a lot of assists. All right, but
yeah, definitely more assists. Yeah.
I think a lot of that is, I think the goaltending, especially with the size of some of these guys, is better. But it's hard for me to argue your point. I'm not sure how I feel about the lack of goal scoring, or I'd like to compare that to other years. Like, how many years did you have guys who scored 60 goals or more? How many years does that happen? How many times do we have that? What's the average? Like, do you get 10 guys a year at 50 goals, and this year it's only 3? I'm curious. We're going to have to look that up, and I'll try to do that.
Well, look at the years when you had the Edmonton Oilers with Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, again. Yeah.
With all the assists he had, there had to be fucking 2 or 3 guys on that team alone that scored 50 goals.
Listen, there were a lot more what I would call snipers back then, guys who even the bad teams had guys like Mike Gartner, had guys like Marcel Dion, had guys who scored 50 goals a year or high 50. So, even the bad teams had those kind of guys. I don't know the league well enough anymore. I'll watch the playoffs a lot more intensely now than the regular season. But pro basketball, let me get back to Steve Kerr. So Steve Kerr came out and said, I know how to fix the load management thing. I know how to do it where, the players won't take games off. Instead of playing 82 games, let's only play 70 games a year.
That's stupid.
Yeah, it's the dumbest idea. First off, if you're an owner, especially if you're the owner of Steve Kerr's team, Steve, don't you know I pay your salary and these morons' salary by having, getting the gate for a home game and half the gate for an away game? Don't you realize that, we get money based on the concession sales and all the advertisement and parking? Don't forget how long it took the Rangers. Yeah, listen, nobody knows the Ranger frustration is better than me. I mean, I think Graves is still the highest scorer in Ranger history, right?
No. Yaga.
Oh, Yaga beat him now? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what the might have been 56 goals.
Yeah, I mean, Graves was
Adam
51
Graves,
or 52 for
Adam Graves was 52. Then it was Jaromir Jagr. I believe he's 56.
But think about this:
like
there's 100 years of Ranger hockey, and they've had how many guys over 50 goals? 3,
2.
I think somebody else had 50 one year. I want to say it was like Vic Hadfield or one of those kind of guys.
No,
no,
I don't think. No, I don't think so.
Okay, you're probably more right than me. But so if you're Steve Kerr, your answer is not, hey, we got to play. These guys got to work hard, and they're going to play more. It's, let's take away 12 games from the year. I mean, again, Steve Kerr's a moron. I wish he would go away. I think if you're employing Steve Kerr, you want to grab him in the tunnel between the game and say, let me talk to you for a second, and beat the living crap out of him. So.
Okay, Frankie, well, hold on. You were right. Jaromir Jagr, 2005, 2006, 54 goals.
Okay.
The others were Chris Kreider with 52 and Adam Graves with 52.
Okay, yeah. I thought there was another guy, a third guy. So, okay.
Well, there you go. That's the third.
I didn't realize it was Kreider, though. Okay, good for him. So, yeah, that's my my take on Steve Kerr. And, again, I don't like. You know what? I got to be honest. I listen to the fan a lot, and there's a lot. The other day it was the afternoon guys, McMonagle and Craig Carton, who I'm not a fan of. But when there's nothing to listen to, I'll flip over to them, especially like on Thursdays before the show. I want to catch a couple things going on, and they were talking about how, with Dexter Lawrence, how, well, these guys, it's a short career. And I sit and say to myself, and he goes, well, they put their life on the line going out there. First off, nobody told you to do it. If you don't want to take the risk for the reward of the contract you're going to get, don't do it. Go be a plumber, go be an electrician, go be a dentist. Nobody told Dexter Lawrence or any other football player that you have to do that for a living. Second of all, if a player in the NFL plays the minimum or the average length of their career, which I think is either 3 or 4 years, they have the ability to make up to $3 million on a veteran minimums contract. If they got a minimum contract, I think it's $800,000 or $900,000. They're making close to $3 million for their career. Jeff, I've been working for 40 years. I can almost guarantee you I have not made $3 or $4 million in my career.
Yeah, I'm Tom. I'm feeling you now.
Right? So to me,
I'm
tired of hearing that, well, the athlete only has a few years. No. That is almost a privilege. If you have that talent and you go there and you take the risk of playing hockey or boxing or any other sport that's dangerous, that's your choice. You're not forced to do that. I guarantee you there's a lot more electricians and plumbers who get hurt and lose their career each year than football players. I'll guarantee it.
Of course. The only thing I could say, I saw those same statistics that you're talking about. Yeah. Everybody knows that.
Sure.
That's just common knowledge. And you're right. You know what? If these guys are lucky enough to play in the NFL for 3 or 4 years, and matter of fact, there was several quarterbacks that have retired in the offseason. And I recognized some of the names, and I was like, wow, that guy was still even in the fucking NFL. And they're like, I've been lucky enough to play, and I'm going to quit. But you find out he started like 2 games for New Orleans like 3 years ago, and that's it. That was the only time he ever played. Right. You're right. If they got the veteran minimum and they're paying almost $1 million a year, and they were in the league for 4 years, you could. Nobody's telling you to buy a 700-room mansion and a fucking Bugatti.
Yeah.
So go get yourself a fucking minivan for the kids and a nice size house and be smart with the money. That's all.
Yeah, and if you invest a few dollars, and you can either start a business or you can, you may be able to live. If you lived a normal life, you probably could live on that kind of money. But again, if you went,
how come we can do it? How come we can do it?
I agree, because we don't go and spend money on a Bentley on draft day and get a $60,000 gold chain with my initials on it. That's why. So we can do it because we stay within our means. Nobody guarantees you in that spot. So I keep hearing these shows, and they always say, they deserve to make whatever they make. No, I agree with you, but nobody hands you. I can tell you there's probably tons of guys who work in the trades or cops or firemen who worked for 2 or 3 years, got hurt, and they lost their job. And now they're getting, maybe at best they're getting a disability pension, a few $100s a month or a few $1,000s a month. Where is it that they deserve better than that? So to me,
they're not getting monster money.
So to me, I'm fed up with hearing that these overpriced babies who can't play full seasons, who can't give a full effort, deserve to make money because it's a short lifespan. Tough shit. Be better at your position than everybody else, and you'll make a bigger contract and you'll stay around longer. If you get to stay around for 3 or 4 years, you made more money than most of us get to make in the entire lifespan of our job, our jobs. So I don't have any sympathy for those guys who go out there and only last 3 years. You did better than most of us already. Now go get a regular job and live a good life. That's it.
If you make $100,000 a year before taxes, you have to work 10 years in order to make $1 million.
Yeah.
And most of the people, I know, thank God we're not in that position. We're making, we're doing all right for ourselves.
Sure.
Especially, guys that barely made it out of high school.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that fucking, they're like, I make $35,000 a year. It's like, well, how the fuck do you afford to breathe?
Yeah.
Never mind anything else. I don't know how you do it.
What's a cop starting salary? It's probably still under $40,000 for the first 5 years they're out there.
That I don't know.
Yeah, when I went on, it was 20 years ago. It was $30-some thousand. I guarantee a much more than that now, and it takes them, it'll take them a decade before they're making serious money. But if you're a cop and you make it through 2 or 3 years and then you lose your job or you get hurt on the job, nobody guaranteed that. They're not saying, oh well, that's it. You should get paid the rest of your life.
Starting salary for a New York City police officer is $60,884.
Okay.
With additional benefits differentials and potential for overtime, their base salary increases significantly. I can't pronounce that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, reaching over $126,000 annually after 5.5 years of service.
Right. So think about that. After 5 years, they're making $1.25 with all the differentials, all the hours you have to work, all the stuff you have. Think about that now. Now, for the next 5 years, they'll make $500,000 in salary. You're 10 years on the job, and you haven't even made $1 million yet.
Yeah.
And at any point, your job could end for a variety of reasons. You screwed up, you lose your job. You get hurt on the job, you lose your job. Those guys don't get anything. Why is it that these pampered athletes who now get to make, in 3 years, make close to $3 million, why is it okay for those guys? Why should I feel sorry for them? I don't. And I swear to God, if I could ever get on a panel with one of these shows and voice my opinion, I'd love to blast these guys who talk this way. I don't care if Dexter Lawrence or any other player, they're not entitled to work that job. They're not entitled to be a football player. If they're good enough and they stick around and they make their money, good for them. If they get hurt, that's part of what you made. Almost $1 million a year making it. So I hate to be on the soapbox, but it annoys the crap out of me when I.
Listen, I agree with you, and it's like you said. You're playing a game. You're playing a game.
Yeah,
you're not really working. You're playing a game. Your biggest goal is to make sure that you eat right, exercise, and stay as healthy as you can, and you're being paid handsomely to do it. And there's team officials and doctors and dietitians and everything else that are doing everything in their power to make sure that you could succeed at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if you were even a 7th round pick and you were the second, you weren't even Mr. Irrelevant. You were next to Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
They want you to succeed because they're paying you and you're part of their team. If you do good, they make more money. They, playoffs, shit like that, all the shit, the deal. 100%. And they want to fucking, for them, they want to do good. But these people nowadays, man, I don't know, bro. I really don't know.
I agree, and it's just it just bothers me that the entitlement that they feel and exude that they're entitled to do this. Nobody's entitled to anything. If I lose my job tomorrow, I'm not entitled to anything other than what I did up until that point. And neither is a football player, or a baseball player, or any other athlete out there. If you're not good enough or you get hurt, move on. And I have no sympathy. And if you're a football player and you get knocked out, you get a couple concussions and you can't play anymore, go get a regular job. We all have to do it. And I know guys who nearly got fried on jobs. We played Madden with a guy. Nearly got killed, and he's got to wait a decade to get any sort of compensation for it. So,
somebody we would,
somebody we know.
Frank?
No.
Okay.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I have no sympathy for those athletes. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm just, you can get nearly killed in any trade, you can get nearly killed in any position, and nobody's entitled to anything after that, other than whatever's due you. And I don't have any sympathy for players. Next thing on the list is reforming of NIL, and I bring it up. There was a big panel. The White House had Nick Saban, the former Alabama coach, a bunch of the commissioners, and they're right. They all stepped up and they said we need to come up with something to slow this down because college sports is disappearing. And one of the things they proposed is something we've been talking about here, Jeff, for at least a year or two, is that they should not be free agency. If you're in college, you should be able to transfer one time for free. If you transfer again, like the old days, you have to sit out a year. You lose a year of eligibility.
I don't understand, and I don't even know why that's a problem. Simply because if you want to leave a school and you're paying $20,000 a year tuition, and now you want to go here, and tuition's going to be $70,000, and you could pay the tuition. Who gives a fuck?
Well,
if there's no room on the football team, you don't play football.
Correct. And to me, though, if you what the problem is, it's always been that way from the beginning of time. If you were at the Penn State and you left and you wanted to go to Nebraska, you had to sit out a year. That was the rule. Now, I don't know if that was fair back then. I think the only time it was different is if your coach quit, the guy who brought you on quit, I think you were allowed to leave. And they're basically saying that now you should, if the guy who recruited you leaves, you should have the ability to go play someplace else if you want. I don't disagree with that. But right now it's turned into every year guys are looking to go move to another team to get a bigger bonus, to get more money. And it's basically wiping out college football. Plus, all the money's being given to two sports, football and basketball, and a lot of the other sports are not getting anything. So they're trying to come up with an equitable way to pay a lot of kids, because I think a lot of these kids should get money. I say this. Hear me out on this one.
I'm listening.
I think every player should get a standard dollar amount. You play college sports, you get $1,000 a month, $1,000 a week, whatever the dollar figure is that they can afford. I think they're allotted $30 million a year for all college players. To me, you can whack that up. Everybody gets money. 2,000, whatever that turns into, 2,000, 3,000, depending on how many sports you got in your school, you spread that out. What I think the players should get is if the team sells a jersey with your name on it, if they sell a poster with your name on it, if you can go out and market yourself and get paid, that's what you should get. But the schools should not be giving out $1 million contracts to essentially free agents every year. That's where I draw the line. I think you pay, everybody gets the same lump sum a month so you can survive and you can concentrate on your sports and your scholastics. I'm all for that. I don't believe that the starting quarterback should get $8 million and the guy who's the backup catcher gets nothing. I think that's ridiculous. But if the star quarterback has got, they're selling 10,000 jerseys with his name on it every year, he should get a piece of that. And if they're selling his name, image, and likeness in any way, they should benefit from that. But I also think that they can only transfer one time in their career. If you get to someplace and you want to go somewhere else, it happens one time. If you want to go someplace else, and you're only allowed to be in college sports for 5 years, no more this 8-9 years yet. That's
there's a guy that just lost a case.
Yeah.
I think he was like 60 and he was still playing quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback for Ole Miss. I think he's going into his 7th year. And one year was COVID, another year was this. To me, you're 20-something years old. Now, I get it. He's probably going to make more money in college than because he probably won't be.
No, he'll never be a pro football player. One, he's too old at this point in time. Who's going to fucking want him?
Right. So, but I mean, I think I understand that the players should benefit from their ability. And if you have the ability to go out and get a TV commercial or do appearances and make money, I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think you should benefit if the school's benefiting off of your name, your image, and your likeness. I'm all for that. I'm just not.
Well, you know what? If you're going to do that, okay, because for the longest time, college players weren't getting paid. They weren't getting anything.
No, I agree.
You want to make it be like if you're a quarterback, you could get $8,000 a year. They shouldn't be getting millions. The word millions in college football should not even be involved with each other.
I agree with you 100%. So you're saying develop a pay scale based on their position or their ranking.
Well, personally, I say abolish the pay scale and you're a student. Okay.
Oh, I agree with you.
You want to play, you want to get paid for playing sports, go to the next level if you can get there.
I agree.
And that's that. Okay.
I agree
as far as if they're gonna pay these players, well, then what they need to do is to turn around and say, you know what, why are we paying you? Are we gonna pay for your apartment? And then we're not gonna get a fucking penthouse apartment on the 30th floor. Right. That's not gonna happen. But you and the two of your buddies could get a 3-bedroom apartment on campus. As long as you're all on the same team, and we'll pay for the apartment. Maybe you get a food stipend. Maybe we'll get you a lease car if you're, a 2-year lease on a car or something that, you got to go back and forth to school and practice. Okay, you're going to get a fucking Nissan Leaf or something stupid like that, or a Nissan Sentra. You're not going to walk out of here with a fucking convertible or Mercedes or a BMW. I can't understand how these guys, and I know that college football, there's a lot of money in college football. Don't
Sure.
get me wrong, please.
Yep.
But I don't understand how somebody who's never played on a professional level is getting millions of fucking dollars. There are how many football players that we just talked about that do not make $1 million a year?
Sure.
And there may be college players that are actually making more than them. And that's
100%.
not cool.
You're right. Correct. I agree with you. So I think it needs, I don't think you can do it in an executive order. I don't think you can kind of throw a broad brush over it. But what I do like is the fact that I think that the White House and the upper level of these of college commissioners are shining a light on it and saying, okay, it's out of hand and the sport's going to implode if we don't fix it. And I appreciate that. I'd like it to be fixed by the sport itself, by college, by the NCAA, not by the White House or any politician. Maybe Congress can step in and come up with some sort of rules and it be the law of the land. But I think it's just, if you say everybody who plays sports gets divided up amongst them, and they get a stipend every month, whatever it comes out to be, $100 a guy or $10,000 a guy person, depending on how many athletes are in the school. I think you can do that, and then allow the players to make money off of their nil. And if you do that, I think it's a lot better. But I think the biggest thing for me, Jeff, is they got to stop these kids from every year going, well, I didn't play enough, or such and such a school wants to give me a $10 million signing bonus, so I'll go there next year.
Well, you know what? I could see if a guy is capable of being a starting quarterback or starting, it doesn't matter the position. He's a starter. He's capable of being a starter. But he's on a team where he's never going to get to start until his third year or fourth year. And he wants to transfer. Okay.
Sure.
You should be able to allow to transfer. I don't even have a problem with it being more than one time. As long as it's not mountains of money being exchanged.
But then again, I don't think they'll do it without the mountains of money. So yeah, I don't think a lot of guys are transferring every year other than for money. So, but yeah, go ahead. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, make it what it once was. It was college football. There was a reason why it was college football.
Yeah,
and it's just I just don't understand how they could pay these guys that kind of money. They're supposed to be amateur athletes.
I think that to me, the payment for these athletes was the education that they walked out of there with. Yes, a lot of them are going to go to pros, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them get their education for free. Think about somebody going to some of these schools. It's 50, 100 grand a year to go to them, to the Michigans and the Notre Dames of the world. So you get a free ride and you play 3 or 4 years, you're making 400 grand out of education. So Matt, I agree with you. It probably won't happen, but I think it needs to, because I think college football is going to suffer. It has to. It just does. I know that I root for Nebraska because of the colors and who's in the jersey, but when every year there's new players, you kind of you don't get you don't get that camaraderie of rooting for your quarterback who's a freshman this year to come back and be that sophomore quarterback for you next year when he's now left, and you got the junior coming from BYU to be your quarterback because Nebraska gave him a few more dollars. I think it takes the incentive out for fans to root for the player.
You and Matt, I don't. Matt said that he don't think that these guys should transfer at all, the upper echelon players. But let me ask you something. Most of them are paying to go to college. Why shouldn't they be allowed to transfer whenever you want? Transfer.
You can, but the rule has always been if you transferred, you had to sit out a year. There was a reason for it. But that was the rule, which
I think is bullshit too.
I got you. But again, for me, I don't want college football. It's like anything else. You make a commitment. It's like this. If you commit to the school, I don't think that and you decide to go there, I don't think the school can cut you, regardless of whether you're the first string or the fourth string. You're stuck there. They got to pay you, and they got to give you the free ride for 4 years. I would think that should never happen. But the same token, if the team brings you in, gives you a free ride for a year or two, you can't wake up one day and go, well, I just wasn't good enough to play here, so I'm going to go play someplace else. That, to me, I think there's a fine line both ways. I think you're allowed to leave once. I don't think you're allowed to leave every year if you want. I think at that point, you're basically a free agent. And I think that's That's my only beef with that. But you know, to your point, you're right. If I wanted to change schools every year to go to a different law school, I'm allowed to do it, right? Yeah, I can.
Well, I understand there's certain players that get paid, but most of them are paying to go to these schools. So if you want to pay the tuition, that's $100,000 a year because you think that maybe you're going to go to Ohio State or one of the biggest schools, or even pay more than that because you want to go to Ivy League or some shit like that. Okay, if that's what you want to do, then by all means.
Yeah.
I just don't think that the college players should be getting paid, period.
I agree with that, and I'm with you, 100%. We'll see what happens. I think the Cats. I think to Matt's point, I think the cat's out of the bag, and I don't think you're going to put it back. I don't think you squirt the toothpaste out, and you're going to put it back in the tube at this point. So we'll see. Lots to think about. Just wanted to get that out there. It was a big meeting, and I think their heart's in the right place. I think listen to a guy like Nick Saban. You could tell how much it hurts him. He would probably still be coaching today if it wasn't for nil. But is what it is. I just wanted to bring it up, and we're going to end the show here before the 2-hour mark, so that way I can generate all the clips. And I got to tell you, Jeff, I put a couple clips up last week, and one of them I think got 2,500 on YouTube for 2,500 views. Another one got 1,500 views.
Wow,
so
nice.
It's a nice way it's a nice way for the show to get out there. And if you're out there and you see the clip on Facebook, do me a favor, share it out there. We're getting more and more people every week, and it's just nice to have a nice audience. So help us out and share them around. And Jeff, I'll get to see you this coming Sunday.
Yes, I will be there, man.
Looking forward to it, and looking forward to seeing the rest of the characters. And but Jeff, you got anything you want to promote? You got any shows coming up? Anything you want to talk about?
No. Who's not going to be there Sunday?
No Ronnie, no Paul. That's it. Yeah, so Drew will be there. I'm assuming Dorothy and Jimmy and you and me.
Okay. All right.
So we'll see what we can get done, and then we're back on May 3rd when Bob's in town, and we got no Jimmy that day. I think that's his birthday. So,
okay.
All right, but again, guys, lots of stuff to come up in the next few weeks. We got a lot of football as we head up to the draft, so we'll see you back here next Thursday night to talk the draft more and more. We'll do a really big draft show next week since there's an outside chance we might not do the show on the 23rd with me being away. So we'll see. But so next Thursday night's gonna be heavy draft. We'll break down the first round of the draft. We'll do our own mock top 10, and we'll do a lot of that next week and whatever else pops up. So again, lots of great shows this summer. Kid Rock's around, Triumph's around, Iron Maiden's coming around. May 7th, Iron Maiden, Burning Ambition in theaters. Go out and see it. I'm going to try to set up something with the boys. Anybody's interested. Rush is coming in. Yeah, Rush is coming in. Yeah, Rush is coming in. So there's a lot of great bands this summer. So get out there, spend your money, and go see these great bands while they're still out there. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with Jeff and I for a couple hours. Thanks to Frank and Matt and Louis Pika and Digger and everybody else who popped up tonight, Chris and everybody else. And we appreciate you guys hanging with us for a little while. We'll see you next Thursday night when we do this all over again. So please have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend, and a great next week. And make sure you come back next Thursday night when Jeff and I do this all over again. So for Jeff, myself, and everybody here at Hard Rockin' Sports, have a great rest of your night. We'll see you next Thursday. Hefe, I'll talk to you off the air.
You got it, man. Later.